like what holds you together is unconditional love and a sense of home, basically, or you create home together and like not just in a material way, but a spiritual way. And I was like, you just perfectly defined it. That's it. Like I've never been able to like see it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Queer Relationships, Queer Joy. I'm one of your hosts, Keely C. Helmick.
I'm your other host, Melissa DeSegurant.
And we are here today to talk about friendships, not just romantic relationships. I know we had said we were going to talk about all types of relationships. We've kind of been heavy in the romantic relationship department, though.
I think I'm very excited, especially for this. As everyone knows, we'll do our introductions, but I'm still doing the solo thing. So I'm all about friendships and celebrating them. And I'm so grateful to our guest today for being here. So just a reminder that we will be doing some workshops coming up, both in February, March, and then in April, we will start a group. So we can talk more about that maybe in upcoming episodes, but I want everyone to be prepared to do a little bit more engagement with us.
Yeah. Yes. I'm super excited for the workshops. And I mean, you just got back from taking a little vacation, which is always necessary. So, and I'm just excited. We are all on video. We are not recording or talking in person. And Melissa and I are separate again. We have to record
Separate rooms.
Different rooms. Same building, different rooms. Because, you know, this gosh darn whatever COVID crap you want to like just not making it possible. So we're being safe. We're doing our due diligence.
Yeah, it's still a thing.
It's still a thing. So I'm Keely C. Helmick, licensed professional counselor, queer therapist, owner of Connective Therapy Collective. I am a white, non-binary, gender fluid femme, and I am solo, still practicing solo, doing a little bit of the dating thing. It's interesting. I don't know.
Bombs dropped on you on the dating apps recently.
I know, like, do I even trust the dating apps? I don't even know what this is, but I think the theme, and this may come up today, is that we were talking about earlier, is how interconnected the community is and how to navigate that as a professional and as a person that just exists in the world. So Melissa, you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. I am still Melissa. I am a white, gender fluid person. I'm bisexual, polyamorous, also a clinician at Connective Therapy Collective. I've said this in other episodes, but it feels important to include in intros now too. I identify as grayscale asexual on the ACE spectrum. So ACE representation all the way.
Yay.
That's all for now.
All right, you two, who would like to introduce yourself first? How do you want to start?
I can start. My name is Alex. I use they, them pronouns. I am a non-binary queer person who is, I don't know, I just am. Like my existence is just really complicated. I've kind of tried to stop labeling it and kind of just letting it be whatever the mess it is. I also work at Connective Therapy Collective. Keely is my supervisor and Melissa is my coworker.
Hi, I'm Reese, non-binary. My genders include all and none at the same time. I'm white and currently a counselor in training at Lewis and Clark. And yeah.
So we have Connective Therapy Collective and we have Lewis and Clark representation too. I don't know, Reese, if you know, I am an alumni from there.
Oh, yay.
So lots of Lewis and Clark representation.
Not to mention the queer community being a small world, but the counseling community.
And the queer counseling community.
Yes. Yeah.
For sure. All right, you two. Okay, let's just ask, how'd you all meet? Tell the listeners a little bit. We introduced you as friends, so people know that friendship. How'd you all meet? Tell us a little bit about your friendship and how that started.
We met, I think it was back in first grade, actually.
2002.
Yeah. So
That was horrible. Like already. Cute.
Oh,
I won't interrupt too much.
It gets better.
It gets like sickeningly cute. Like
I like the way you tell it a lot. So
okay. Well, So we met in first grade and we both have younger sisters. And my sister is 1 year younger than me, and his sister is 2 years younger than him. And actually, at first, I started playing with his sister at recess. We were playing Velociraptor. That was just what I was playing at the time, I guess. And then one day after school, you and your mom invited me to go to Starbucks with you. And then that's how you introduced me to vanilla milk, which I had never had before. And that was my first memory with you. And then our families just kind of bonded like really intensely, like they mirrored each other in a lot of ways. So him and I became like best bros. And then our sisters started hanging out, and our mom started hanging out, and our dad started hanging out. And what we didn't know yet at the time was that, unbeknownst to us, our dads actually had property on opposite ends of the river. Like we could almost see each other's backyards.
Oh,
from the house.
wow.
Yeah, so it was just like the weird parallels of proximity that we have always had in our lives is a little uncanny, but also kind of in its own sweet way, a little romantic
Drawn together.
by very, very strong universal forces, which I think we agreed we will also talk more about later.
Yeah, it gets funnier. We did a psychic reading and it was just like fun. It was hilarious. I was like, oh yeah, that totally checks out. But
No one was surprised except for the psychic. So that's how we kind of met. And then we kind of just became, I don't know, like it wasn't quite unspoken because we would talk about it, but we just had this closeness that other people around us didn't seem to have in quite the same way.
Uh-huh.
yeah, we coined the term platonic life mates, basically, where it was just like, I don't know, it just like, or platonic soulmates, where it's just like our souls just understand each other and it's a very yin yang dynamic, I think, that just balances itself.
Yeah, I would definitely say that we're very complementary, but not at all opposite.
And so met in first grade, and then kind of moving forward, you hung out like throughout grade school and high school and
Kind of.
yeah. I was gonna say,
Mhm.
how did it kind of morph? Has your relationship changed throughout the years?
Well, we hung out a lot in elementary school, and then our families actually went through divorces together.
Wow.
Yeah, like it's not at all like I was saying, like our lives mirroring each other is like not at all an exaggeration or hyperbole. It's like very literal in some instances. So after a bit, we went to different elementary schools and then hung out sometimes because we would go to your dad's dock and like go boating and swimming and stuff.
Mhm.
And then in middle school, there was a little bit more separation. And then we went to different high schools because I went to like a private Catholic college prep school. And then you went to no, you bounced around a bit.
I bounced around a bit. It was mostly at Sherwood High School, though. That's where I did my, yeah.
And then we actually ended up going to college together at U of O on the gender equity floor, which was made 4 years before us by a trans man who was like, I'm creating a space specifically for trans folk and like their allies, like to have a space.
Oh, cool. Uh-huh.
So we were both like, we're very queer and like, what is gender? And then we kind of like continue to explore that for ourselves,
Uh-huh.
kind of like a little in a parallel way, like throughout college. And then we had like the shit show that was going to school in Eugene together. And like we kind of just helped to keep each other sane and be like, no, like this is not okay, but how can we be founding forces for one another? And then there were a couple instances where we just both had to like really look out for one another and like sink ourselves into, okay, the things around us are kind of out of our control, but we can lean on each other. And then that just kind of hasn't really stopped since college. Now that we've kind of like our worlds have met,
Uh-huh.
it's kind of stayed in this place. And then when I finished school in Eugene, I moved up and lived with some family for some time when Reese at the time was living with a partner. And then plague hit. And then we were like making plans of like, okay, how can we like access community and like keep everyone like, can we try something new? And then we did. that ended up falling apart.
Hmm.
But Reese and I were able to lean on each other and be like, okay, well, at least out of that mess, like we can focus back on what we know is consistent, is stable, is honest, and doesn't undermine our relationship to one another or the other person.
As you talk about it, it sounds like you've really been anchors that you've been able to come back to for one another. And
Yeah.
I think that's part of the reason I'm so excited to have both of you on this episode. It's so often I'm talking to clients, especially folks that might be newer in exploring their career identity, about having those kinds of anchors, especially depending on where you are in the world. The community around might not be so supportive and reflecting the values that we might hold. So thank you for representing that. And how, like, what kinds of challenges, as much as you're comfortable talking about, have you needed to overcome and really leaned on each other?
Oh my God, the laundry list. Like, where do you want to start?
Oh man, I mean, it could just start with like COVID stuff and just like COVID isolation, because I
Yeah.
feel like with such immense isolation, I can speak for myself saying that you've been an immense anchor, to continue that term, just like, or a sounding board, just having that stable sounding board to just be like, yeah, you're the voice of reason, and always have been like a very good solid source of that I have come to be like, yeah, I trust Alex's takes immensely, and we have such a great knowledge of each other, like depth of understanding. It's almost been like a culmination of just seeing through so much together that I'm like, I know you, I know like I don't know. It's just that like unspoken understanding of I've watched someone's waves for so long that it's like, of course I know like who they are, and like being able to like be seen and heard continually by that is like a really amazing thing that a lot of people I think are like confounded by and also impressed and like, yeah, amazed by. So
Yeah, I find that a lot too. And I know you and I have talked about this a lot before too, but like when we tell people about our friendship, they're always like, oh my God, really? Like it seems so surprising. It's just like, oh, that's really like I do feel a little sad for them that this isn't more common. But at the same time, like that's also what makes it so special because we have had, like you were saying, like the waves that we've just experienced together. And I also really value your takes, and I know that I can trust you. And I know that if I need to be called the fuck out and be like, hey, Alex, have you ever considered that like maybe this pattern's repeating and like maybe that's not so great? And I'm like, oh, but like it's always done in an honest and direct way that's still supportive. Like sometimes, particularly in our current climate with the world, there's so much. If I bring something to your attention, it's going to feel like an attack. And like, I mean, I could go on a whole different tangent about why I think that is, but there's so much. Sometimes when we're attending to relationships, there's still relationship damage being inflicted. And I don't feel that at all in ours. It's very like, I love you, I respect you. And also, I think the path you're currently going down is maybe not the best one. So, like, how can we help each other see like more openings?
yeah, it's very like, yeah, just that direct honesty and just being able to like say your truth basically with somebody and know that it never feels like, at least, yeah, for me too, it also never feels like an attack. It's just like, oh yeah, this is someone speaking their truth, and like,
Yeah.
that's really amazing and special. Like to one, have that space, and two, feel like someone can give that to you. So it's almost like a continual gift exchange, basically having you as a friend. It's great.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Cardinal, your tourist friend who makes sure you have everything you need before you go out the door. Don't forget your water bottle and wallet and free queer relationship worksheet from Melissa and Keely. It'll help you put into action some of the concepts we've been covering here on the podcast so your relationships can have more queer joy too. Things like personal values versus relationship values, identifying power dynamics, and improving communication. Link in the show notes. Okay, bye.
Oh, well, so, okay. So you mentioned other people. So you talked about some of like how you met, some of the challenges, going to college together, now being from Eugene, being in Portland together. And then you mentioned how other people see you. I wonder if you can touch on how other people's relationships with you, whether you're in a romantic relationship, how those interplay and affect your relationship together, or how you navigate that.
I mean, I don't know about you, but even on New Year's when we went to that party, people thought we were dating, and we had to be like, no,
Yeah, like, no.
like we have a very close, intimate relationship, but people conflate that with other things. And it's just like, no, like I don't know what to tell you other than like you're capable of being deep and connected to more than just one person. Like I don't know.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Intimacy can occur without sex, without romance. Yes.
I wonder too for folks like if we invite others to foster these kinds of friendships, what pressure might come off of their intimate sexual romantic relationships?
A shit ton.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Metric fuck ton. Like I don't know
Some
what-
food for thought for everyone listening.
A network of support, a concept.
Imagine that.
Well, yeah, when you're saying like an anchor and you're talking about your dynamics, it's stays more like it's consistent because you're not having those like ups and downs that you often see in romantic relationships, that you're like, you have your challenges, but there's that consistency there.
Yeah. Like I feel pretty confident in saying that like this is the relationship where I've learned to be securely attached, because no matter how much time has gone by or like how much, well, but it's so true too though, is because like in my like romantic relationships, it's just like boom, boom, like it's like
Everywhere.
like a full contact sport. And I know that like I can be honest and admit that a lot of that is sometimes my doing. And like that's not always easy to say, but I just like when I throw myself in, I throw myself in fully. I can acknowledge that. But having a different kind of space that will still hold that intimacy, but also have like some gentleness around it. And a lot of the gentleness coming from long time build consistency is like kind of
Yeah.
a lot feels different.
Well, I love, I mean, of course, because we're talking to a therapist and a therapist in training. So, but that idea of secure attachment and modeling that in a friendship and really understanding that in a friendship, and then being, are you able to translate that to other relationships or even other friendships?
It truly has never been in the same way. Like I can honestly say, like, I feel with you, it's like, oh, this is unconditional love. Like that's what it is. Like it just, and in a really special way that's like, oh yeah, it's like one soul sees another. And I feel it's transcended lifetimes. Like in my soul, I feel like we've definitely been together for like multiple lifetimes doing this kind of feeling that I just have not had with other people.
Yeah.
So it's really indescribable in that sense. I don't know. How do you?
Well, I guess this is also like a good segue into like the psychic reading that we want.
Yes, I was gonna. Yes.
Because dear fucking God. So I will preface this with so me and Reese went to this reading, and then my girlfriend at the time joined us because Reese had gone to this person like a couple weeks or like a month prior. And I guess
You came up in a reading and I was like, oh, I really want to do a reading with Alex, because they were like, there's someone in your life who's been with you for multiple lifetimes. And I immediately intuitive was like, oh, it's Alex. Like that's the person.
Yeah.
And so I brought them in to be like, hey, do you want to do a reading with me? I kind of am interested in this sphere of my reading. And so this is what happened as a result.
Gosh. So it starts with, she draws the cards and there's a section for me, there's a section for Reese, and then there's the section for like the in-between. And all the cards that came up immediately, she was like, oh, there was definitely a marriage in a past life, like very like, and she was like, whoa. And me and Reese and my girlfriend at the time were just like, okay. And then she was like, sorry, awkward, like looking at me and my girlfriend. And we were just like, yeah, no, I mean, that checks out. And then she was surprised that we weren't surprised.
Like, yeah, that checks out. And then she was just like, okay.
Like even my partner was just like, yeah, no, that makes complete sense for these two.
Yeah.
So then she was mentioning there, and this is where I need help. I don't speak tarot very good. There was some sort of card where it was like there was a wish asked and then a wish fulfilled.
Yeah, so there were 3 columns of cards, and one side we kind of were starting to discern like whose was whose.
Uh-huh.
And so one tier for like one person, one tier for the other, and in the middle is what you create together. And it was really sweet. And I had to stop myself from crying because there were 2 cards that she drew that were like, holy shit, this is like, I know you're soulmates or you are bonded in like an ethereal way, because it was the 9 of Cups and the 10 of Cups, which is the wish and the wish fulfilled.
Sisters built.
And
Oh.
like utter abundance. And
Uh-huh.
she was like, there's like a soul contract where you're like meant to be together for like eternity. And I was just like, oh wow, that's amazing. Like, and the other card that was drawn was like what holds you together is unconditional love and
Uh-huh.
a sense of home, basically, or you create home together, and like not just in a material way but a spiritual way. And I was like, you just perfectly defined it, that's it. Like, I've never been able to like see it, but she, yeah.
So affirming.
Yeah.
And what was the like connection that you made with the angels? Because that was really cool too.
Oh, yeah. Oh shoot, I might need to take a second to remember that.
Michael
actually.
and Raphael.
Oh yeah, yeah, how do I describe this? I get really into esotericism, and so I was just like, oh yeah, like our bond reminds me of how people describe the Archangel Michael and the Archangel Raphael, Michael being Alex and me being Raphael. And I'm like, Michael is like the angel who essentially escorts people to heaven, or like the stairway to heaven, is a very like blunt, like says it how it is kind of angel. Also like Archangel of War. Raphael is the healing magician. And yeah, and so in the Cabal, like there's the tree of life, right? And there's these two the 2 points the angels represent. When they meet in the middle, it creates like beauty and love, basically.
Aw.
And I was just like, oh, that's really sweet. Like, that makes sense. So yeah.
Well, you know what
So-
we see that play out too is like every time anyone comes into our apartment the first time, without a doubt, they're like, it feels so good in here.
Wait, so the 2 of you share an apartment right now?
Yeah.
Okay, that was the COVID thing. So when you're having this psychic reading done, and so at the time, Alex, your girlfriend's just like super chill with all this.
Yep.
That's awesome.
At the time later, there was a like, did you 2 ever date? Because I'd feel kind of weird about that. And I had to be like, no, we have literally never dated.
Okay.
You have to be like, well, not in this life. However,
And the last, who knows how many, like, that's a different story. But in this one, no.
Well, and so with this closeness, has there ever been with either of you romantic exes or romantic flings or anyone, any kind of jealousy or upsetness? I love the expressions on your faces right for people who can't see. It's the cutest thing. They both are just like, huh, like this, like looking up at this thing, like, have we? I mean, I love it if you haven't. I just think, yeah.
The only one I'm able to think of was in my past relationship when she was like, did you 2 ever date? Like, I'd feel some kind of way about that. And I was like, well, you were there. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Other than that, not on my end, or if they did, I'm not aware of it.
Yeah, I feel like my
Yeah.
exes were more just like impressed. They're just like, what is this bond? This is really cool. Like, that's neat. And they kind of were like, oh, I like thought that, but I would like, they were more, and I'm also like have dated people who are also poly. So it was just kind of like, if it was cool, then if not, whatever. And they were just like, honestly, it's just kind of beautiful to watch. So
I remember a couple years ago on New Year's when I was just like very drunkenly saying I love you in German. Your boyfriend at the time was like, you know, it's okay if you date other people, like it's cool. But like we were just being so playful, like it. Yeah.
Well, you two definitely have, yeah, like it's very obvious watching you. You have this energy and just this being relaxed, and you use the word at home. And it's really nice to see. And I think you're really emphasizing, you're doing such a great job emphasizing what Melissa and I are talking about, and what we're looking to have further discussion on is this love and intimacy and connection in all different ways.
I think it's a good model too, like you just said, of not having partners expressing jealousy. I'm so grateful for both of you. That's been your experience. It's totally not been my experience of dating. And that, I think, different relationship setups that can maybe trigger different things for people. But I don't know. It's just this is something I would want to highlight and encourage listeners to really invest in your friendships as though they are as important as any other relationship, because they are. And then also on the other side, if jealousy is coming up from someone around, maybe their partner's friends, like really consider where that jealousy is coming from and whether it needs to be there or it's something that just needs to be worked out individually.
Hi, it's Cardinal, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. One thing I don't have to save the city from is As You Like It. They're an eco-conscious, body-positive, queer-positive sex toy shop with something for everybody and every body. Find them online at asyouLikeItShop.com and use code CTC Therapy, that's all one word, at checkout for 10% off. That's CTC Therapy at asyouLikeItShop.com. Catch you later.
So on that, do the two of you like schedule time together as friends, or you said you're roommates? So how do you navigate? I know, and it's COVID, so this may even be like a silly question at this point, but do you have a way when you are navigating work and other friends and at times romantic relationships, do you have a way that you schedule time for each other and make sure that you are connecting with each other?
I mean, I see you every day and almost every night, so I don't feel the need to.
We've gone on like family outings sometimes, or just did actually to Hood, and also sometimes I want to bring back family dinners actually more so. But
Yeah, we've talked about
yeah, for sure. We've done that in the past, or just having like making food together, and that's been fun. But yeah, COVID and stuff has definitely thrown a wrench.
I mean, I'm just glad that like if I'm gonna be stuck indoors with someone, it's someone that I love so dearly, and like we don't really get on each other's nerves. And if we do, it's like a quick address of like, I love you, I need some space. And like that's just kind of the extent of it.
Oh, I wish that everyone could. I love that phrase. I love you and I need some space, and it just happens. Can we just repeat that everywhere in every relationship?
Yeah.
I feel like I need a pin that just says that.
Melissa, I think you would just want a word. I think you'd want like a safe word. You're like, I just have to say this one word. Just go.
Yeah.
You told the cute story about when you were in first grade, and then you were just saying that you had some like family, like you'd go on outings together and you used to have a family dinner. Do you have a favorite story you want to share as friends?
The story that, well, do you want to go first?
I have to think, because I also have stage fright and my mind goes blank when people.
Would it be helpful for me to go first?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. A memory that I have that I really like that I think would be maybe could be confusing to some other people, but to us, I think just was never a big deal. We went on a trip to the beach, and at some point we were just like, hey, do you want to take a bath together? And then we just like stripped down buck naked and like just chilled in the bathtub together for like, oh my God, I couldn't tell you how long we were in there or what the fuck we talked about. But we did it for like a long time, and it was like completely like non-sexual, but like comfortable. Like it wasn't, I mean, I was having the time of my life. I didn't care. I was just happy to be there. But to like a lot of other people, they'd kind of be like, wait, you guys can just like chill out naked? It's like, yeah, bro, it doesn't have to be a big deal.
It doesn't have to be sexual. Oh my,
It really
Ellen.
doesn't.
I mean, when you describe that, I'm thinking of when people are at Brighton Bush or like at Common Grounds, or where these places where people hang out naked and are in warm water chilling. So that seems totally normal to me. And this idea again that our bodies don't have to be sexualized and we can be naked. And yeah, for some people that doesn't seem quote unquote normal, but in actuality, it's like, it's super normal. It's just that the context, how everything is geared towards romance and sex and sexualizing bodies. That's the only reason why it seems like weird.
Right.
Right. And then shame that's put on by it. Like I was thinking about little kids, like, you want to know what's normal? Like they strip down all the time. They don't care. Like they have to be taught that they're not allowed to show parts of their body because they should be ashamed of them. That's kind of the message we often give, maybe unintentionally. So I won't get too much on my soapbox, but
I know, right? Like Alex, you told a great story and just got Melissa and I just going. Reese, did you think? Do you have a story you want to share about the two of you?
I don't know. I just really love coming home in the evening and like watching anime with you. It's just nice.
Yeah.
It's just the feeling of just coming home, really like that encompasses it for me, of just like there's just joy and calm and euphoria of just being able to like be silent and be either reading together, having like introvert hangouts, and like that's just like true peace for me. And that's definitely something I get with Alex and has not really been a thing with many other people.
Well, you two, for the people again who can't see, you two are just adorable right now, and you have that tree behind you that's so like just emphasizes the stories that you were telling. Well, knowing that we told you we like to end every episode with queer joy. And do you want to go first today?
I'll go first. I got some joy. I got a lot of joy.
Yes.
I just successfully took a trip to see a friend's family loved one, which I say successfully because it was really unknown. I was uncertain myself about flying with what's going on right now with the virus, and also flights are getting canceled because there's not enough people to work them. So I got very lucky to, number one, get there and get back and not get COVID or give anyone else COVID to my knowledge. I really had underestimated how important it was for me, like just to even be physically in a room with people that I've known for longer than a year. Like, oh my God. I got to spend time with my partner who I haven't seen in a really long time. I had a lovely time with my parents, and I got to see one of my best friends. The two of you are making me like, I need to have a friend's trip when all of this is over. All my friends are scattered around the country, and many of us have moved during COVID. So that's going to have to happen. But I'm just buzzing from all of that. And thankfully, somehow managed to keep the mode I was in, even though I'm back at work. So I'm trying to just like do this whole easy, yeah, I'm working thing, but I don't have to be anxious and caught up in the grind either. So very, very grateful for that break.
Yay. Well, I wasn't sure how much I wanted to say. I'm going to be vulnerable for a minute. And then I do have queer joy. And in this story is queer joy, actually, even though it's not happening right now. But listening to the two of you and getting to talk to the two of you about your friendship, I have actually been blessed enough to have a friendship like that. And she died 7 years ago, but I still see her as a soulmate. And so like everything the two of you are talking about, that I'm like viscerally know that that's real, obviously. And getting to hear the two of you talk about your friendship, I find so much joy. I'm at a place in my grief that it's been a long enough time since her body is not here anymore and she's off somewhere else, that I can see and feel the joy of the time I did get with her. I got 22 years with her. And so sharing in the joy of others, we would say in a non-monogamy compersion, but getting to share the joy and that the two of you have within your relationship, I feel like gratitude and queer joy, both for the two of you, and then knowing that, I got to experience that. And I'm very blessed because you're right. A lot of people don't get to experience that. And even though my person isn't here physically, I know she's still here, and she may be even just hanging out, listening to this now, being present. And so that's my queer joy that I did not plan today. So yeah. So now the two of you can, and again, it could just be joy, like just something to make you happy. And because we're all queer here, it's queer joy.
Right.
Oh, I want to talk about Mirror Lake, that hike up to Mirror Lake. So we went to Hood for the first time, me, Alex, and one of my other longtime friends. I've known them since 2009-ish. And it was really like I really needed this trip just to like be around people I love and like go to Hood, which is a really spiritual place for me since I grew up in Oregon and have been going there my whole life. And we just decided to stop on the way to like our Airbnb to go on this hike up to Mirror Lake. And everyone else had like snowshoes and we're just like fuck it. We're just gonna do it in our shoes, and we all just like took a like what hour and a half 2 hours just hiking up these like switchbacks in just like our shoes and having a freaking blast doing it, like
Oh,
all
yay.
so excited, adrenaline fueled, going up these slopes, and we make it to the lake and it's frozen over and it was beautiful. And we just sat by the lake surrounded by dogs and just like looking at this beautiful lake that's frozen over. And I'd never seen it like that. And I'm like, I've been coming here my whole life and I've never seen it like this. And it's beautiful. And it just looked like out of a fantasy novel. It's beautiful. And yeah, that was my queer joy, was just sitting with you and Eli, just like chilling out, being like, wow, this is really awesome.
Yeah, that was gonna be mine too, because I was like, oh my God, just anything to get me out of Portland, for the love of God. And thank God we were able to go be by the trees and just like chill out and like and like I walked away from that trip with a couple blisters, but like fucking worth it. 10 out of 10.
Love it.
Well, thank you again for joining us. And yeah, we have anything either of you want to plug or talk about, or do you not be contacted by anybody? Sure. Keep all information private.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of in a weird boat where it's like obviously I work with the two of you. So like if people want to get a hold of me, I guess they like can and they know how if they go to the CTC website, or if they're just like, hey Keely, that Alex person. But like other than that,
I
know.
won't share your information. Don't worry.
Okay.
Just whatever's public on the website.
Right. I mean, I guess that's kind of what I meant.
Totally. Well, thank you. And listeners, y'all know how to get a hold of us through our website, Instagram, Facebook. Otherwise, thanks again. Thanks for listening. And we hope you have a queer and joyful week.
Thanks for listening to Queer Relationships, Queer Joy, a podcast by the Connective Therapy Collective, hosted by Keely C. Helmick and Melissa DeSeguron, with audio edited and produced by me, Cardinal Marking. Intro music is by Bad Snacks. This week's guests were Alex and Reese. Find Alex here at the Connective Therapy Collective. If this episode made you smile or think, tell us about it. If you hated it, tell us about that. Review us on iTunes or on Spotify. You can review podcasts on the Spotify app now. Or send us an email at info@connectivetherapycollective.com. For more queer joy, visit our website at www.connectivetherapycollective.com. Love ya. Bye.